This is the border that I ended up making in the Horizon Link Suite program because the little motifs that we were using in Acufil were actually JEF files. We had the choice of them using either the JEF or the AFL. The AFL were supposedly going to connect at the intersections. But as we worked on the design, we remembered that because we were flipping some of these little motifs, that meant that all of those joins weren't actually going to work out, and we were still going to have some jumps. So what I recommended that we do was to change everything into JEF files while we were working in our Acufil program. So this is what the design actually looked like. Let me delete this so you don't get too confused. Here we go. So this is what we ended up with at the end of class today. And as you all know, it was a torturous process, and I don't think we would have made it without David's help. So we made a whole design list of all of the different angles and all of that that we needed to actually do to create this fancy little border. Now, the thing that I did is that I made a notation that our overall design size here, and remembering that because of our overall quilt size that we're using for our machine covers, isn't we don't have exact squares that we're working with here. Remember, our white space is our actual design area, and the gray space is our actual hoop or our ASQ22 hoop. So we're not working with completely square shapes whenever we are working with putting designs into this white grid area. And I kind of thought, for a design such as this, maybe it's not that important because it's all swirly and curly. And, if it was something that was a square and just this, and we were trying to make it this dimension, it really would be a slight rectangle. So at any rate, I thought this was an okay kind of a design to use with the fact that it's not a symmetrical square. At any rate, our square here is 210 by 206 millimeters, which means that if I'm going to create a border over in Horizon Link Suite, what I'm really going to want to have happen is over here, I need to make sure that my dimension is going to be under that size that was over here in Acufil. So Acufil, the largest dimension I have is 210, but the smallest is 206. So what I'm going to do in Horizon Link Suite is I'm going to reproduce this swirly border using the built-in JEF files in the Acufil program. And I'm going to make sure that it's not any bigger than 206 millimeters square. All right, so that's what I did over here. I brought in each individual design, and actually this program was a lot easier to create that design in. I could go backwards and show you all the steps, and I may do that in a little bit depending on how well I hold out through this. But I made my design size down here. Let's look at the status bar. It's 201 wide by 203 high, so it's almost a square. That's about the best I can do. What I want you to notice over here is once I created each one of my lines, what I did is I shrunk them down to 93%. All right, and then I was able to save that line as a JEF file, and I was then able to open that JEF file and then produce it on 4 sides to make a square. So that's what I did for our project. Let me go ahead and do some, let's see, what should I probably do? I think what I'll do is I'll just get rid of everything except for the one line. All right, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and come to my design section, and I'm going to navigate here. This is one of the things that was causing some agony to some of the students today in class, in the Acufil section under stippling parts. So when I'm opening this up in the Horizon Link Suite, I'm not going to have the option of using an AFL. Horizon Link Suite will only read those JEF files. So here it is right here. And all I'm going to do is reproduce what I did in class today with David's help. So this is the original design. In the Edit tab, I'm going to rotate number 170 degrees. All right, so sometimes I find that I have to click on this a couple of times before this takes. So 170, enter. And here's the design. So it's the same design as this one here. Size is a little bit different, and we will resize these in a little while. Design number 2 is this one here. So I'm just going to go home, open up that design. Right there, there it is. All I needed to do with this one in this program is give it a little vertical mirror. And, oh, maybe a horizontal as well. Yeah. So let's put that one, and I'm just going to line it up on a line right here, my vertical line. This one here, I'm going to move it. Let me go ahead and zoom in on this so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to move it so the tail end of this intersects with this point here. And we got that information from that was how the AFL files were going to work. Let me move my design list out of the way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these 2 designs, edit, copy and paste, vertical mirror them, and I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard and I'm just going to drag them over. This goes a little bit slow, but I'll just chat to you while I'm talking. This is basically the same thing we could have done over in the Acufil program. However, our problem in the Acufil program was that we were looking at the big picture. We were looking at our entire square. And when we were doing that, I think that kind of slowed down the process of how we were actually able to get this all to work together. So it's not that we were being dumbbelled or anything like that, but you know, sometimes we just need to find a different workaround for some of the things that we're doing. So all I'm doing here, for some reason, this seems to be rotated a little bit different, doesn't it? Yeah, it actually does. I'm going to get rid of that design. I'm going to bring in this one alone. So sometimes, you know, funny things are happening. I don't know why. Copied and paste. I did a vertical mirror. Let's see how that one looks. Let's see if that's a little bit more true to life. Yeah, I think, I don't know what happened there. Maybe it was just having the 2 combined together that, oh, I know what happened. The one that got duplicated was this one. I'm going to delete that. Now I'm just going to do this one here. For some reason that didn't copy and paste right. Copy and paste. Let's do a vertical mirror and drag it on over. So all I'm saying now is that sometimes we just need to pay some attention to what we're actually doing, because if we haven't selected everything, maybe you saw that, I don't know. As I was working on this design, maybe that's what happened to it. Pay attention, you know, and just really look at the balance of all of these things, how they're working out together, and make them work. All right, so this is getting there. And once it's made, I'm going to actually, this is going to be a Jeff Plus design. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it there like that. I'm going to get rid of this top part because I already saved that as a Jeff Plus design. I'm now going to select all these 4 pieces. I'm going to center them in my hoop. And then I'm going to come to my Save As button. And I'm going to, first of all, give it a name. I've called this the Swirl Border. I'm saving it in my EMB folder for machine cover class that we're making this for. And I'm going to save it, first of all, as a Jeff Plus, just to do it that way, okay? I've already done it one time, so I'm not going to do that again. Let's see, I think it's this swirl border right here. Actually, I think it's called Swirl 1. Let me see if it's called Swirl 1, just so I don't overwrite something here. I think it's Swirl 1. And I'm first of all going to save it as the F plus. Here it is right here. Let's save it. Yeah, I'm going to overwrite it. And now I'm going to save it also as a Jeff, okay? Because as a Jeff, it's going to work a lot easier to create my square. This one's going to be called the Swirl Border. ER for border. I didn't need that part. Here, I need some lunch. Okay, so Swirl Border, and this time instead of the Jeff Plus, it's going to be the plain old Jeff. Let's save it. I'm going to replace it. All right, so here I have it now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of these 4 pieces so I can continue to work on my design file. What I would next do is come back to the home button again. go to design, find my design on my USB in my machine cover folder. It's the Swirl Border Jeff that I want right here. Yeah, I had Swirl 1 as a Jeff Plus. Yeah, I've gotten a couple of different versions going on here. Let's go with Swirl 1 Jeff. Hope it opens up. There it is. All right, so I'm just going to move it to the top of my hoop. I am then going to just copy and paste this. I'm going to copy and paste it one time. This is the one that I'm going to rotate 90 degrees. If it'll get it out of the way a little bit. 90, and I will position it over here. I'm going to copy and paste again. This time what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a horizontal mirror, and I'm going to drag it down in my hoop. So you know, you're getting the idea, right? All you're going to do next is wiggle these things around, copy and paste it again, bring it to the middle. I'm going to rotate it this direction this time, 270 degrees. Is that the right direction? I think that's the wrong direction. I need to mirror image it. There we go. We're looking at our little mustache here. So what I'm doing, girls, is I'm putting this point of the mustache right on either a horizontal line. This one here needs to be, actually, I think this is the one that needed to be flipped. Yeah, it was that one that needed to be flipped. Make sure that you've got them going in the right direction. And then what we can do with them is I resized it, like I told you a little while ago, down to 93%. And that was just me tweaking it just to see what was actually going to fit inside of the hoop size that we had made over in Acufil. So remember that I needed to get it down to 206 millimeters or less. And after playing with it over in this program here, I discovered that down at about 203 millimeters square was where I needed it. So that was decreasing each one of these sections down to 96. All right. And then I was able to just play with them and get the positioning right. Again, I just want to tell you all, as you discovered today, some of this really takes some effort. And anyway, I'm happy to get this one ready for all of us. But, you know, so there they are. All I'm going to do is, again, try to keep these points of the mustache on these horizontal and vertical lines. So this one here is almost where it needs to be in relationship to this one here. So one of the things that you can do, you know, just keeping them on the horizontal and vertical, nudge them toward one another until those corners started to touch. These intersections in here is what I'm referring to. All right, so about right there for that one. This one, I'm going to move it uphill a little bit. This one, I'm going to move it out a tiny bit. I barely want them to kiss here at these corners, so that one's a little bit close in. I don't want to drag this video out too long. You know me, I'm all wordy. So let's get that one up a little bit so it's barely kissing. Everything is still on the horizontal and the vertical crosshairs. So I'm going to select all four of them now. And now I'm going to use the center tool. And the design is centered in the hoop. All right. And it's actually looks a little bit more like it's a little bit narrower than it is tall. But basically you get the idea, right? You might need to, oh, everything is still selected. Let me see. You might just need to tweak these a little bit. You know, I'm kind of going on a rush job here. And what I'm looking at now is this part of the design. I want it on this grid. This grid, this one here, I might not be able to get it down quite that far, but almost. What was I looking at? I was looking at this. So it's still a little bit off, but you all get the idea of what I'm doing here. And then what I would do when this is all said and done is I would go ahead and I would save it again, both as a Jeff and as a Jeff Plus, just in case I wanted to come back and work on it some more. And then I will be able to actually open it up over here in my Acufil hoop and add other stuff in here. We had to cut the class short after only, what, 8 hours together? I don't think it was really quite that long, but almost. we were just all running out of energy, and it was a great class. But at any rate, we never got back to the point where we could add in some other design elements into this project. So anyway, that's why we had to cut it off. And that's why we needed to actually recreate this design as a GIF and a GIF Plus. We had to do that over in Horizon Link Suite Edit program so that then we could import it back into Acufil under this design tab and add in some other fun things. All right, so I hope that that made sense to you. So this is going to tell you, I'm already past that point where I can add other stuff in here. Anyway, I think that's about it. I just wanted to show you how I recreated this border for you. I will email it to you so that we can all use it and have the same design. Thanks for watching the video, girls. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you all soon.